Hi everyone, today we're going to be upgrading my Mini-ITX Slim gaming PC. We're upgrading it because the hardware in it's getting a little bit old and I'm also starting to get a little bit of temperature problems. This slim gaming PC is roughly the size of a PS4. Here's my hand for scale. I built it 5 years ago because I was traveling a lot from one property to another, and I wanted a gaming PC that was portable without having to go to something like a laptop, a gaming laptop. I've had gaming laptops before, and they've always had temperature problems and, underpowered graphics cards, and also they cost a lot. This I built for $1,500 back in 2020, and it has worked very well. However, recently I installed the Battlefield 6 beta and played it over the weekend, and it pushed my CPU to 100% and overheated the PC and made it crash. This PC is actually entirely air-cooled in its current configuration. There's a 4070 graphics card in here, and its heat comes out these vents at the top here, and it works fine. It actually doesn't overheat at all. I'll just flip it over to the other side now, and I'll show you the CPU side. This is the CPU side of the case. In here is the CPU, and here is the Mini-ITX power supply. Alright, I'll pull off this case and I will show you what's inside. Alright, there we go. Here's the inside of the case. We have a 2TB regular hard disk. We have a 500 gig SATA SSD. And here we have a 120mm heat pipe heatsink with a slim 120mm fan attached. I attached the fan back to front. And that was on purpose because I wanted it to suck air through the heatsink, through the fins, and blow the hot air out of the case, not into the case. I had the fan on the correct way when I first installed this, and everything inside the case got very, very, very hot. So by turning it around, it blows the heat out. The downside to that is that fans aren't nearly as good at sucking as they are at blowing. And so as a result, the CPU runs fairly hot. It runs at about 50 degrees Celsius, even when just doing stuff in Windows. So it runs pretty hot just basically on idle. Then when you game, it bumps up to about 65, 75 degrees Celsius. So it gets pretty hot, but it's been doing that for 5 years just fine. I'm currently running a Ryzen 5 CPU, and today we're going to be upgrading to a Ryzen 7, and also I'm adding an additional M.2 drive, a Samsung 990 EVO Plus 2TB. We're also replacing this CPU heatsink with a MSI water block, all-in-one water cooling system. So as you can see, there's not a lot of space inside this case to put any kind of water cooling system. In fact, I kind of was pushing the limit by putting such a large heatsink in here in the first place. I'm very proud of what I've achieved with this computer. It has run flawlessly for 5 years in such a tiny package with such decent hardware. Like I said, it has a 4070 graphics card and a Ryzen 5 CPU. It works quite well, and I'm very proud that I've been able to air cool this entire project. In fact, even the heatsink and CPU fan don't even stick out the side of the case. They are flush with the side of the case. Now I could have gone with a fatter CPU fan and cut a hole in the side of the case and stuck it out a bit, one that's a bit higher RPM, more airflow. That probably would have done the job. But I just really want to give water cooling a try. I've never done it before, and I think it'd look really neat having this radiator sticking out the side of the case. So that's how I'm going to solve the space problem. All right, well, let's open up the water cooling unit and we'll have a look what's in there. All right, this is the water cooling unit. So we have a water block here, and that also has the pump built into it. And here we have the radiator. So this is a 240mm radiator with 2 fans, and I believe that should more than do the job for the Ryzen 7. The Ryzen 7 CPU I've got is a 5000 series. Let's get the light on there. What's it, a 5700, something like that. It's the X series, which here we go, 5700X. It's the X series, which means it only uses 65 watts of power. So it's the same wattage as the Ryzen 5 I'm replacing. So it didn't need a gigantic water cooling unit. But I thought instead of just having a 120mm one, I'll go with a full 240 one because it'll fit the side of the case aesthetically and also keep the CPU nice and cool. So I'll just pull this out of the plastic and we'll have a look at it a bit closer. Okay, this is it. Alright, so let's just flip this over here. There's the radiator. There's the 2 fans there, and there's the water block. So I'll just lift it all up here and we'll get it out of the box. We'll just throw it on the side of the case here and just have a general sort of idea of what it's going to look like. So as you can probably imagine, that the heat block's going to go there, and then the radiator is going to screw to the side of the case up the top there like that. It's going to look something like that. The radiator is going to be on the outside of the case, and yeah, so now the pipes coming out at this angle. This is an all-in-one system. I don't really want to chop the pipes or add any connectors or anything, so we're going to try our best to neaten up the plumbing that's going to stick out of the side of the case. So in order to make the water block fit through the case, we're going to, here's the case here, we're going to cut a hole in the side of this case so that way the water block can fit through. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And here's the power plugs for the fans. I'm not exactly sure if I've got the right connections on the motherboard for that. I probably do, but we'll have a look. So yeah, first things first is we're going to change over the CPU, put the new M.2 drive in, and then we'll do the water cooling block last. The M.2 drive is on the back of the motherboard, so I need to actually remove the whole motherboard to put the bracket on for the water cooling block, but also to change the M.2 drive over. Alright, we'll start pulling this apart. Okay, here's the back side of the case. Back side of the PC with the case off. So you can see there's the 4070. And on the back of the motherboard is the M.2 drive. And also here's the mounting brackets for the heat pipe heatsink, which I've put on. So unfortunately, the entire motherboard and everything has to come out just to access that. So yeah, I'll roll it over and we'll see about getting this heatsink and motherboard out. Alright, I've got the heatsink out. Put this back over again. There, this is what we're working with here. This is a Mini-ITX motherboard. It is absolutely tiny. Like, there's my hand for scale. It is a very, very small motherboard. So next thing is we have to take the screws out, all these, and the power plugs and everything, and get the motherboard out. There's a PCI Express like adapter thing here that like right angles the PCI Express port, so the way the graphics card can align vertically with the rest of the case. So that has to come off too, which that's a real problem, that thing. Last time I made this computer, this caused like maybe some kind of electrical issue or something, like maybe one of the contacts wasn't in properly or something, but you know, it sort of disconnected the graphics card from the motherboard while like in the middle of gaming and stuff. It was like kind of finicky, so getting the tension on these bolts correct, I think, was what fixed it. You don't want to like bend the circuit board too much, otherwise it makes the connections not touch the motherboard properly or something. I don't know. So yeah, alright, well, yeah, next thing is removing the motherboard. Alright, oh man, this job's so hard. Alright, turns out I had to remove the graphics card because the only way to get the adapter out, this little adapter out, is to take the graphics card off first, unscrew these little screws, see if we can come around here, and remove the right angle adapter thingamajig. Can't get this one here. Oh, hang on. Let's flip that down again. There we go. So that's the adapter for the graphics card. Let's put that aside. So nearly got everything off. Just got to undo the screws and I'm going to remove the motherboard. Alright, all the screws are out. So you should be able to just somehow, there's no way to grab a hold of this thing, lift the motherboard out. There's no way good to grab it. There we go. Very gently and carefully. Now I've left the pins for the power light and power button attached because I don't know where the manual for this motherboard is and it's taking me ages to figure out. So I think we're just going to lift the motherboard up like this and place the M.2 here, and then we'll attach the mounting brackets for the water cooler and then flip it back down again and start putting them back together. Alright, can remove the M.2 drive now. It's Intel one, which is interesting because I don't think they made that sort of thing, but it's actually very fast. Now you see I had to put a bit of duct tape on the back of it because there's nothing on the back of this motherboard that stops the M.2 drive touching the motherboard. Alright, we'll get the new M.2 drive out. Excuse me for doing this one-handed. There we go. Very nice. Alright, we'll put the M.2 drive in. Excuse the unsteady hands. Alright. Okay, that's installed now. I couldn't film and install at the same time, it was too hard. But there we go. It's attached. So all we have to do now is attach the new water block mounting bracket at the back here while it's apart. Actually, no, we don't have to. I can do it while it's still in the case. Alright, so I'm going to put the motherboard back together, screw it back down, plug all the cables back in, and then do the CPU and water cooler block. Alright, everything is reattached, motherboard is back in. And yeah, we'll just flip it up and I'll have a look at the other side. Alright, here's the other side. The new M.2 drive's in, and the back is ready for the new mounting plates for the new CPU. So next thing would be to put the new CPU in and then begin on the water cooling part of the build. Alright, and flip the case back over again and put the new CPU in. Alright, got the new CPU. Put that in. I think it goes in that way. Yep, it does. Good. Excellent. That's now in. Now we also have the sticker. The Ryzen 7 sticker. So we'll put that in on the case. So I've grabbed the old CPU actually. Bear with me. Alright, put the old CPU back in here for safekeeping, if it'll fit. There we go. Thermal grease all over my hand. Alright, let's put the sticker on the front. Get the old sticker off. So it's good to have fingernails. I'll clean this off a little bit. Alright, I'm going to clean that off. Alright, new sticker going on. Alright. Okay, we're ready for the water cooling block portion of the build. Excellent. So the water cooling block and radiator comes with, set that down there, comes with a bunch of brackets. One bracket. I'm not sure what this other bracket's for. I'll figure that out. Oh, and some thermal paste. I had thermal paste already, but we'll use that stuff. Okay. Not sure what these extra half moon brackets are for. Probably for... Oh, I see, there's probably half moon brackets. Okay, they're for the water block. This box bag. Move this aside. Oh, sorry. Okay. I'll tip this up and put this bracket on the back and then see how it fits with the water block, and then, yeah, go from there. Alright, update. The backing plate that was provided with the water cooling block, there's no others in the box there. Backing plate that was provided doesn't fit. Completely the wrong size. There's no extra screw holes in it or nothing, so can't use that, which sucks. However, the heatsink I pulled off, this back plate I could probably use, provided that these nuts fit the nuts on the water block. So we're going to try that now, because otherwise we're in some trouble. I'm surprised that it didn't come with two types of back plates. It only came with a back plate for like the Intel or something, I don't know. Let's try this. Not sure if that fits. Just getting the thread wrong, hang on. Let me just try it. They look about the same. Okay, I'm going to have to put the camera down. Alright, I searched through my boxes, which have the boxes the motherboard and everything came in, and I found the original mounting plate that came with the motherboard. So, that should fit that. Yeah, excellent. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is start modifying the case. Alright, I've just done a dry fit of the heat block to the backing plate. Just, I haven't put any paste on or anything, just a dry fit. Just to see where this is all going to go. I think it makes sense for the pipes to be on this side, in line with the side of the radiator. So it's going to sit off the side of the case about that much. Not much under there. Yeah. Alright. Let's see what we come up with. So I was scrounging through my box of electrical parts and I found these standoffs. So Not all the same length. Two are the same and then the other two are different, but I think it should do the job. So the idea is I'm going to stick the standoffs underneath the radiator to stand it off against the side of the case. Hope that makes sense, but you'll see it when I do it. But yeah, so like here's the side of the case, for example. So I'll be screwing the standoffs to the side of the case, and then the radiator will screw to that. So yeah, alright. I'll cut a hole in the case here, big enough for the heat block to go through. And it's going to be tricky, because basically once the hole's in the case, I have to put this through the hole and then push the case off to the side, push the case off over this way, screw this down with the heat paste and get it all nice, and then I need to then screw the radiator to the side of the case, like pull the case back this way and then screw this to the side of the case. Unless of course I make the hole big enough to put this through. Oh yeah, I could do the radiator to the case first and then put this through second. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Alright, I'll do that. You guys will see what I mean in a sec. Alright, I've put the side of the case back on. So I'm just going to line the heat block up there, roughly where the CPU is going to go. Line these pins up. I think it's roughly about, yeah, roughly about here. Something like that. I'll go down slightly. That's better. Okay, so now I'm going to get this white texture here. Okay, so now I've just got to go around and mark where I'm going to saw through like that. That one. Right, cut these ones like there, cut that, yeah, if I cut these ones here, like that. That one. Sorry, cut that. Alright, so that should be marked up, ready for cutting now. I'm not sure how I'm going to cut it. It's really thin metal. Like I could use some sort of side cutters, or I could use an angle grinder and then file it off, or yeah, I'll figure out which one I'm going to do, but I'll come back when it's cut and we'll be able to see it from there. Alright, I've cut the hole in the side of the case. There's the cutout there. So the water block should be able to just go straight in. There we go. Straight in there like that. And the edges of this are sharp, and I don't want the hoses to get frayed, so probably going to do something to protect them. Might put some like tape or something around here to make the edges not sharp. Alright, I'll see what I come up with. Okay, so here's what I came up with. I just put some caution tape all the way around here to protect any people and also the pipes from sharp edges. So that's done the trick. So the next thing to do is put the radiator up on here, like there. Figure out where it's going to live, sort of like there somewhere. Mark around it with the texter, and then figure out where to drill the holes in the case. Yeah, and then where I can put so that way the standoffs can sit on the case there, and then the radiator sits on top of those. So, all right, let's get this thing in position and then figure out where to mark it with a texter. All right, I've marked around on the case where the radiator is going to go. Put that aside there. You see, that's where the radiator is going to go. Now, on the underside of the radiator here, there's screw holes, which I somehow need to line up. I'm going to have to use a ruler and stuff to get that precise. So I'll do that now. Okay, case holes have been drilled for the standoffs. So the next thing would be to attach the radiator, I think. Yeah, we'll do that first. And then we can put the case back on, poke the cooler through the heat block through there, attach that up, and then of course also attach wires, the fan wires and stuff. I think those are the RGB wires. That would be the pump wire there. All right, so we'll attach this radiator. Okay, radiator is mounted. Took a little bit of finagling, but it is attached. It does stick out a fair way, doesn't it, from the side of the case. Let's have a look over this angle. Yeah, she's sticks out a bit, but hey, that was the idea. Give it plenty of airflow between the radiator and the fans and everything. Nice airflow through there. Alright, so next thing would be to attach the wires, I think, because they're going to be hard to get in there once the water block's in. So I'll do the wires next, and yeah, then we'll do the water block last. Alright. Okay, fan and pump wires are all connected, and I've put a block of wood behind the back of the case to make sure the little screw mounting points for the water block can screw on without the backing plate falling off. So the only thing left to do now is to take the plastic off this, put some thermal paste on the CPU there, and attach it all. For me, this is the scary part. You know, you can accidentally get the thermal paste all over your hands, and it just goes everywhere if you're not careful. So, alright, we'll do that, and yeah, we'll try and attach this water block. Okay, the water block is attached and screwed down to the case. I didn't show attaching the thermal paste because I am ashamed. I'm ashamed of how bad of a job I did. Also, the little vial that it came with, I don't think was enough. But we'll find out when I fire it up and see what the temperature is. But yeah, it's all fully mounted on there now. Peel the sticker off. Ooh. All right. So yeah, just got to clean up these wires, see what I can do about these hoses, and yeah, I'll show you the finished product when it's all neatened up. All right, here's the finished product. All completed. It is ugly as, but it is also really awesome. Here it is, all installed. Fits behind my monitor perfectly fine. It's not too much of a problem. Okay, let's go do some stress testing and we'll see how hot it runs, what kind of temperature we get. Okay, here's the result of the CPU stress test. As you can see, we're running at about 52 degrees Celsius, which is a little warmer than I'd like, especially considering the size of the heatsink and the water cooler. I think it's definitely the result of the heat paste I put on. I'm going to have to redo that later. But 52 degrees is okay, considering that it used to run at 85 and blue screen before. So I think this is okay. I'll redo the heat paste, the thermal paste, at a later time. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the build. It's pretty cool having a water cooler sticking out the side of it. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.